people in India, again, they don't care about quality right now. And you have to understand, all of these growers were exporting. So they were all very focused on finding buyers outside of India, because that's where people understood that, okay, this is a quality product. We can pay a premium for it, because we know that we'll be able to sell it for a premium to consumers. So he told us that. But interesting is that his son was in the room during that conversation, and his son got it. His son was like, no, that's not, Dad, that's not what they're trying to do. They want to do it as specialty. They want to highlight where it's from. They like, it's a very different concept. So it was interesting to sort of see that generational gap happening. And then the interesting thing is that out of those 6 estates that we first started working with, we continue to buy coffee from them.
Okay, to this
day. So it's still very much a relationship driven business. Obviously every year we add on new estates, but those 6 growers we still continue to buy coffee from.
Okay, so they ship you these bags of coffee, I'm guessing like big jute bags.
Yeah, it comes in 60
bags.
60 kg jute bag.
Yeah, and then you bring them back to your office, which is your wife's parents' house in Gurgaon.
Yeah.
And what's the next step? So you have like a coffee roaster, I'm guessing?
Yeah, so we had a very small 500 gram tabletop coffee roaster. We found it on the internet. There was some crafts person in Taiwan who was making it. So we contacted him and he sent that over. We ended up again having to do a bunch of customs hassles for that, going to the post office and dealing with the people at the post office who were asking, what is this? What are you using it for? Then we got that set up. But so when we started, we were just operating out of a bedroom actually. So there was a table where the roaster was on, and then there would be I had another setup for the grinding. So I would be on one end of the room roasting the coffee, then she would take it and grind it and package it and put it in the cardboard boxes and ship it out. It was a very much a mom and pop operation.
Is that safe though? I think like roasters, is there some kind of fumes from the cooking of the beans?
Yeah, so we had like a kind of makeshift exhaust going out the window, and there's a gas flame inside on the like we would have failed FSSAI for sure if there was a inspection that happened. And then actually her parents live in a residential colony, so you could, if you were walking during that time, you would be able to smell the aroma outside, and luckily none of the neighbors complained.
It's a good smell.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure. Maybe that's not objective, but
no, it's pleasant.
Yeah,
it's pleasant.
I know you're sort of a stickler for quality, right? Ensuring that the beans are roasted exactly the right way. But I also know that India is a country where power cuts happen frequently, right? And a roaster is relying, unless you have like a diesel generator or something. Yeah. Most households do not have that. Yeah. Or an inverter, I guess, would that have worked? Or
I mean, so it does work on the bigger roasters. On that small one, it didn't.
Okay. So what was that like? Because I'm guessing when the power goes out and you're in the middle of a roast, it's like it's toast.
Batch is gone. So
how long does it take to roast one batch?
Anywhere from 9 to 13 minutes.
Okay. And is it expensive, or the raw beans are not that expensive?
So we've actually done a cost benefit on the bigger roasters for whether it makes sense to upgrade the inverter so that it's seamless and you won't lose any batch, versus just having to waste that coffee. And actually, the inverters are so expensive that you're better off just wasting the coffee.
Oh, seriously? Even to this day, this is a challenge? Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Wow. So when the power goes out, there's nothing you can do. It's just
it'll last till the end of a roast. But if now we have to shut down production, though we do have generators in most places now, so then we can turn on the diesel generator and make sure production continues.
That must have been so frustrating though when it was just you and Namrata.
Yeah, because especially we're spending a lot of time roasting, and then it's just like, oh man, we got to do this again. That was a bit of a frustration.
Yeah, I'm sure. And you're sort of like staying up all night doing this stuff. It must have been exhausting.
Yeah, there was especially once we started getting the B2B orders, then there were times where we'd be roasting the entire night. And that was sort of, after that happened a few times, that's when we made the decision that, okay, this is not sustainable. We have to get a bigger roaster.
So how did you, okay, so it's online. Did you do any sort of marketing to like get the word out? Facebook, like, I don't know, like what would you have done to?
No, so we didn't do any like digital marketing. We did a lot of sort of on the ground like events. We would participate in a lot of farmer pop-ups and physical events. That was the initial push came from that. And then very soon after, we started the B2B business, which in retrospect was quite silly. Like, we're roasting on a 500 gram roaster and pitching to get like 10, 20 kgs orders. But so then we did some just visiting businesses that we felt like who would be interested in a better quality product. And actually there's a chain in Delhi called Lapra that was one of our first wholesale customers.
Okay. Financially, I know it probably didn't cost that much. You had to buy the roaster from Taiwan. That's an expense, but that, you know, the office is already there, right? Your in-laws' house.
Yeah.
I guess getting the packaging might have been a small
I think
cost,
it cost around 10 lakhs probably to get everything started up. And
you guys were like well enough off with your past work that you had done that you could afford that expense.
So I think by most of whatever we had saved, we put into this. Then it reached a certain point where we needed to get a bigger roaster, and roasters are quite expensive.
Right. That's what I wanted to know. That would have been the biggest. And that was the one that you guys had to get a crane to like.
Yeah.
So how expensive was that? That was a commercial
roaster.
So
at that point in time, they weren't being this quality. So it was a Probat roaster. Probat is sort of a global leader in coffee roasters. And now they make them in India. But at that point in time, it was only made in Germany. So then on top of the initial cost of the roaster, you had to pay duty, and that was significant. It cost around some 35, 40 lakhs. So that we had to borrow money from outside.
Okay. You hadn't brought that in terms of profit from the business at that point?
No, we were still at a very small scale. I think the calculus for us is, did we want to take this plunge and try and grow the business to a level that we'd be able to get the ROI from that investment, or did we not? So
yeah. And what sort of, because I know about 6 months into the business, your wife Namrata became pregnant.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think there would have been a point where there's a fork in the road, right? You can either decide, you know what, this was a fun hobby project and we saw that there was a bit of demand, but this is not safe, right?
Yeah.
And maybe we should go the other route and get our jobs back or start working as consultants again.
Yeah.
What was the point where you kind of decided, no, we feel like this is the right move to continue with this company?
So I think that we saw everyday growth. So orders were steadily increasing. We had a decent response from B2B, and there was no one really who was doing kind of what we were doing. And so the bet was that ultimately India would sort of follow the trends that are happening across the entire world, where people, maybe not the majority of people are drinking specialty coffee, but an increasing percent of the population wants to have that type of beverage. So that was sort of the bet that we had taken. So I think the initial, the response from customers, the feedback that we got was all very encouraging. And so that gave us a lot of confidence that it wouldn't fail. Maybe it wouldn't become successful, but it wouldn't fail.